Yeah, so welcome to tonight's live training, which is about allergies. It's about what an allergy is, how they start, why they keep coming back, some things that you can do about them. We're going to be looking at, firstly, where these allergies come from, why they happen in your body. We're also going to be looking at why you can then look into the specific body tissues that are affected, why each allergy is unique and why they arrive in a way that's unique. Feel free to add any questions at any time. I'm going to be answering questions at the end, or even just comment hi or whatever it is that you want to do. We're also going to look at how you can go beyond symptom treatment, which is commonly what people do with allergies. So just treat the symptoms and actually achieve a permanent reduction or resolution in your allergy. So I'm just going to introduce myself. I'm Sam Neffendorf, and I am an emotional freedom techniques trainer, and I also support people to find the root cause of their physical, mental and emotional health conditions and symptoms, and enable them to actually resolve those using a process called meta health. And the purpose of all of the work that I do is in supporting people to feel more vital, feel more excited, and just have a more vibrant, healthy and energized life, where they can really do reach their full potential, and the health is a very, very key part of that, and especially having the vitality and the resilience to move through and really create the life that they want. And of course, allergies are a big thing in the world these days that is affecting people and actually stopping them from perhaps living as they want to. They can be energy draining, they can get you down with things like itching, runny nose, coughing all the time, and all those kinds of symptoms which can just be a drain and a drag. So we're going to explore where those come from and some things that you can actually do to reduce the impact of your allergies and even resolve them permanently. So permanent resolution to allergies, and as we go through this you'll understand why that's possible. So some allergies are potentially deadly, and I just want to point out that if you are dealing with something like a serious reaction to bee stings or wasp stings, which could potentially result in you death, or a peanut allergy that is has this strong reaction, then you can still work with those sorts of allergies, but if you're going to do that, really make sure that you're working with a well-trained professional practitioner who really understands allergies and what they're doing with them. Meta health is a great, someone who's doing meta health would be great to be able to access that, but also you need to have whatever symptom solution is available to you. For example, if it's an EpiPen, make sure you've got those available if you're doing any of this work, because when you start doing emotional release kind of work, sometimes it can actually, bring symptoms on. So if you are dealing with something very, very dangerous allergy, then make sure that you're working in that way. Okay, right. So conventionally, an allergy is there's something about a substance, a specific substance, which is causing your body to have an unpleasant or uncomfortable reaction. Medically, like so many symptoms out there, although there are some good symptom treatments, the cause is unknown, as with most things in the Merck manual. So there's many theories. One of them is that there's certain proteins in certain substances that parts of your body don't respond well to. And so the immune system overreacts to the substance which it is perceiving as dangerous. And that's actually kind of true, the part about your immune system over responding because it perceives it as dangerous. But I'll come on to that in a bit. Now, there's all sorts of theories out there. You know, some people say it's a genetic disorder. Some people blame things like the toxins in our environment and things like vaccines that they might be causing. And you could find a correlation potentially with those and many other things. And in some cases, they could be actually involved. But there's something deeper going on when someone has an allergy or similar sort of symptom, whether it's a food intolerance or something like that. And so we're going to look at some of that. And from a perspective of meta health and the energy work, EFT, matrix reprinting, etc., you can look at an allergy as something that's very similar to a phobia. So a phobia might sound a bit odd. We're getting a real physical reaction here, whereas a phobia, sure, you get an anxiety reaction and you might want to move away from the object of your phobia or not to do some public speaking or whatever the phobia is. But here's why they're very similar. A phobia is your body energy system and your sort of nervous system responding to an external threat or a perceived external threat, whereas an allergy, an allergic reaction, is your body, nervous system, energy system responding to an internal threat. So something that has actually already gone into your body, which your body is perceiving as dangerous, and so dangerous in some cases that it might even shut your throat rather than letting another peanut in, or potentially just stop parts of your body working rather than allow wasp venom to course through your veins or something like that. So it's a real reaction to something that has been perceived and is now stored in your nervous system, energy system, whatever, as a dangerous thing to your body. So how this actually comes about, I've seen this many times with people, is that let's say they've got hay fever, so a pollen, what's perceived as a pollen allergy, and it happens at the same time every year. But what's actually happening is that a trauma happened, a traumatic specific event happened at some point in their life, which could have been 10 years ago, could have been 5 years ago, could have been when they were born, could even have been before that. And I'll come on to that a bit later because it is important. But so I'll give you an example. I was working with someone with hay fever, and their hay fever actually started as they were working it goes back to when they were working in a recruitment company, and the recruitment company had offices which were out in the countryside, and this person at that time something had happened which had disgusted them, and they were shocked, and it had caused a real conflict, and they were traumatized. They didn't have any way of dealing with it, and the specific body part that was strongest for them was in their nose. So the membranes of their nose, they were giving off a lot of mucus and all of the things that we associate with rhinitis that comes on the back of hay fever, basically, allergic rhinitis. And the pollen was in the air at the time. So pollen was actually in the air, and their body associated that substance with the way that they were feeling, and basically created a pathway that this substance is actually dangerous to them, which meant that from each year from then on, whenever it's pollen season of the particular pollen that caused the hay fever that they had, the allergy that they were experiencing, the whole symptoms would start up again because their intelligent immune system had noticed that this substance was in their body at the time that at the time that all this, basically they felt the trauma, and so it associated with it. So it became a trigger event. Whatever the season was, June every year, whenever any of that pollen was about, that would trigger them into feeling the same way subconsciously that they had at the time, which would leave them with the symptoms coming back again. And when we actually resolved using matrix reimprinting and EFT, the memories and the associations and the beliefs that they had at that time, then the body no longer needed to find that substance dangerous, and the hay fever massively reduced in that case. There can be many, you often need to look down several pathways and find all of the different associations, but very quickly you can get some really good results there. So that's showing why these allergies come back. They could be, yes, seasonal, for example, or every time you eat a pear. If a pear happened to be, I don't think that many people are allergic to pears, but it'd be possible to get an allergy to pears. If there was, if something very traumatic was happening at the time that you were eating a pear, that could start causing these allergic responses as well. So it kind of becomes a looping cycle. We call it a hanging healing in mental health, where you can stay out of symptom for a long time, and then it comes back when you have a trigger event until the original root cause is actually resolved. And so just knowing that your allergy is actually a phobia and it's based on specific events from your past, or possibly even the past of your ancestors, which have been passed down epigenetically in the DNA, it's just really helpful to being able to, release any powerlessness over this, and that you by finding and resolving those root cause events, then you become powerful. Now you can do this with conventional EFT, matrix reimprinting, technique like that, but what makes it even more effective, and you're able to quickly get the find the root cause events in this way, is actually looking at the parts of the body that are being affected by that whenever the allergy happens, and using those associations, you can really very quickly find the root causes. I'm not going to go too much in detail with Meta Health and what it is. There's other videos I've done that you can find on my website or in my group, Feel Better, Heal Better, about Meta Health, and there'll continue to be more. But we'll just look at some examples of the most. We'll look at three common body tissues that are affected by allergies and what those actually mean. So the first one, I've already talked about it a bit with that example, but the nose. Most people with certainly the pollen-based allergies, they experience issues with the nose, lots of mucus, maybe a red nose, swelling or whatever. And what that actually means, now you can just look at these things and think, what does that body part mean to me? Oh, someone got up my nose, for example, and look for the metaphors and then start looking for events around that. And even just tapping on someone getting up your nose and working out who it might have been or what it might have been that got up your nose, the situation, it starts to give you some relief in the moment. But if you actually look on the Meta Health perspective, is a stinking conflict. and was thinking, obviously, the nose metaphor. And so something might have been getting an example, maybe you're disgusted with someone, or disgusted with the way someone behaved in a certain situation, or disgusted with what someone said. And it happened at the time that whatever substance was in the air could have been very early on in your life, when, you know, even as a child, something happened that you were disgusted with. Someone said something that you couldn't, that just stank. The whole thing just stank to you in the way that you perceive the world. And then, because that substance is still there, your body's associated with it, and every year when that substance comes back, so there's a symptom as well, and that symptom's there as a reminder that you've got something unresolved that you need to deal with, which will give you a permanent resolution to whatever the symptom is, take you through the healing cycle. So the nose, that's one example. Eyes, the conjunctiva of the eyes is another one. They often go together. So you get the red eyes going on. And so an example of what that might have been is in meta health, it's a visual loss of touch conflict. So what that means is you actually lost sight of someone or something that you wanted to maintain that sight with. And it's quite interesting. Example might be, if you were, again, I'm going to go with flowers because they're an obvious one. A young child, perceiving themselves as getting lost in a garden centre, something like that. Now that can happen just by walking around a corner of a display, but in that moment, the 3-year-old child feels utterly lost, and they've got no strategy to deal with it. They feel in danger. They've lost sight of their mum or whatever, and so they associate everything that's going on. The smell of a particular flower that they were nearest to is imprinted. Let's say it's pansies or something like that. It's imprinted into their nervous system, into their energy system, into their body subconsciously. And then at that stage, whenever they smell that flower at the pollen season or whichever part, then they might get the eyes going as well. And so it's because you know that the eyes are to do with that loss of visual touch, as it's called in meta health, but it's actually, you lost sight of someone or something important to you. Then you can use that to track back and find the specific root cause as to why someone might be experiencing this kind of allergy, really. Skin, another big one. So say someone breaks out in hives when they have a specific food, maybe, whatever the food is. It doesn't matter. Whatever food. Beautiful. I can't even think of a food right now, but there you go. Came up with pears, that fantastic example a minute ago. But actually, so it doesn't matter. Let's say someone breaks out in hives, and what that's likely to be is due to their epidermis is all about the interface with the world, and so it could be something to do with unwanted touch in this case, and it could be something like a little girl had to go and visit an uncle or grandparents or whatever, and so like at an age when started to be very self-aware and not wanting, a lot of, as an example, children often get forced really to kiss or hug people, relatives in particular, but they don't want to in that moment. And so it's a bit of that could be, it's not like anything bad went on here particularly, like nothing abusive, but they just didn't want to hug that relative and they were forced to. And so there was an unwanted touch which might be associated with whatever the food substance is. So, you know, whatever was cooked at Granny's house, or whatever was cooked, whatever they were eating at that time. This could also be, you know, if there was a pollen in the air, you could end up with a pollen-based allergy at that time. So whatever substance their body associates with that unwanted touch might be something that would cause them to come up in hives. And so just imagine, you know, trying to find, if you weren't aware of like this sort of meta associations, and you know, someone and nothing, you know, really bad has gone on, it's easy to find the big traumas in people's lives, but just, you know, no one would think that a over enthusiastically kissing relative would be a big trauma, but you know, it can be a big deal for people, and certainly for a small but increasingly self-aware child who feels that they were violated in that moment. Of course, long forgotten, even as an older child and then an adult. But you know, once you know these things and start tracking back, you can find these reasons why an allergy or some sort of reaction to a food intolerance or whatever might actually have come up. So, you know, it's a lot of little stuff here, but when you know what it is, you can start to really resolve them. So, yeah, so when you do find these root causes, resolve them, and also the themes, the beliefs, the emotional patterns, behavior patterns that actually are associated with them, then these allergies can be much diminished or resolved. Now, of course, you know, definitely use the symptom treatments that suit you as well. So, you know, some people might be cool with using an antihistamine. Other people do things like local pollen or honey from local pollen, herbs, whatever symptom treatment. These things are all, you know, great to use these, and with any symptom, there's no harm in actually, if it's getting too much for you, using something that just takes the edge off or even reduces it. But they're not permanent solutions. So finding the actual specific emotional root cause event in mental health, a UDIN, unexpected, dramatic, isolating, no strategy event, and the association with whatever the substance is. It sounds very simple, but it's simple when you know it. And in terms of mental health, quite important to be guided on that, I would say. So the way to actually really resolve it is just to find that root cause event or series of events or trigger events that lead to these allergic reactions happening, and then release the pattern. That can either be done through energy techniques like EFT, matrix imprinting, or hypnotic processes, NLP, those kinds of things. Whatever suits that person, or it can even be through a natural resolution. So if you know, we resolve things in our lives all the time without having to resort to energy processes. So if someone had let's say it was they were getting this conjunctive thing in the eyes, and it's because they'd lost sight of someone that they loved and hadn't seen for a long time, then maybe, you know, getting back in touch with that person might be an example of a resolution, if that's possible. But if not, then you can resolve it with so sometimes, you know, if let's say that person was no longer with them, passed away, then it can be, those things can be addressed with the energy technique. So the interventions, but definitely use physical symptom treatments, herbal treatments, or whatever as well, because they can be really, really useful. And you want to come at these things from all angles, really. So, one thing I think is really important is people go, that's all well and good, but what about these children that are born with allergies? Hey, well, how do you explain that? Well, there are, you don't have to be, it doesn't have to have happened in your lifetime, the initial root cause for something to be an issue in your life. Epigenetics, which is pretty much mainstream science now, certainly in a lot of the science journals, showing how things that happened to your ancestors really can still be passed down in your DNA. They flick certain switches and actually can cause those things to be passed down. So you might be looking for things that actually happened before you were born, or it could be things that happened when you might have had a trauma when you were in the womb. So you were in your mother's womb in the second trimester or whatever, and your mum had a big emotional shock at the same time as there was pollen in the air. Well, because you are so involved with picking up everything that your mum goes through, but you wouldn't necessarily have you wouldn't have the understanding of why she had the emotional shock. You just get the shock and the substance coming through in your bloodstream. So that could cause a very strong possibility. So there's certainly reasons that you can have an allergic born with an allergy, and with these processes we can resolve them as well by finding the root cause. But there will be triggers. There'll be triggers in your life, even if that is eating a peanut or whatever. So epigenetics in that case. Right. So I would be very happy to answer any questions now. If anyone's got any questions about allergies, but they'd like me to either answer here, or if I can't, I'll go away, find the answer, and get back to you on it. If you're watching this as a replay, then you've got any questions, just put them in the comments, and I will, certainly for the next couple of days, I'll be watching that and make sure that I get back to you with an answer on that. Just anything that's there. Not sure any that are coming through now. So I just want to say, if you're not already a member, then come over and join my group, Feel Better, Heal Better. It's all about building vitality, building energy, creating a thriving and healthy life on your terms. Not just about getting better from things, but actually really moving into having, a beautiful life that you absolutely love. If you've got specific symptoms that no matter what you try, that you've just not been able to resolve them yet, I'm really happy to spend a bit of time with you. Just get in touch with me and we can have a conversation about, how you may be able to resolve some of those things, and not just resolve them, but actually learn from them, and how your life could improve as a result of that. So really happy to spend a bit of time with anyone who wants to do that. Get in touch, and I hope that was of interest. It just makes sense when you think about it, really. Any questions that you've got, I don't think there's any right now, but any that are coming when you're watching the replay, just put them in and I'll see you then. Oh, just one more thing, because I did a disclaimer at the start. Allergies, if you've got a dangerous allergy that potentially has a big anaphylactic reaction or something like that, make sure that you are working with someone who really knows what they're doing with allergies, and also you've got whatever you require at that time, EpiPens or whatever, in case of emergencies, just in case anything does get triggered. I'm happy to talk with anyone on that basis as well. So, okay, that's it now. And hopefully see you in the group. Cheers then.